Ducktales is one of my favorite NES games of all time. Really. I have the NES version and the Famicom version from Japan called Ducktales. But really, this is a game I've played at least twice a year since I was a kid. The gameplay, the hunt for treasure, the music, how easy it is to pick up and play, all of this came together in a classic package, and you could throw it in the face of anybody who would say that licensed games were all shit. How about DuckTales? How about that game? And then they would go off and weep at home. The Disney games from this era are classic Capcom. 4 years after DuckTales, there was a sequel on the NES, DuckTales 2. On paper, everything was better. There was a store, you got upgrades for your cane, there were new moves. Something about DuckTales 2 didn't feel quite right, despite the fact it was essentially exactly the same game. The music was less memorable. In this one, it was like they weren't even trying. Just listen to this crap. Is this DuckTales or Big Nose the Caveman? It did have the greatest menu selection music ever. Seriously, sometimes I hum this to myself when I'm reading the menu at a restaurant. Anyway, imagine how excited I was when the big news came out of PAX East this year. Remastered DuckTales, in HD, with hand-drawn sprites, and all the original voice actors. Screw your Skyrims, and your Duties, and your automobiles. This was news. And now the game is out on Steam. Can it live up to the original?
For comparison's sake, I'm going to get rid of the variables and recreate my 10-year-old self as closely as possible. We've got my children's television show t-shirt. We've got my pajama pants. And we've got the game. Something still doesn't feel right.
Well, we've already created the feeling of playing a game from 1989. What the heck is this? No support for off-the-shelf USB controllers? Have we gone back in time? Do I need to plug it into my parallel port and specify the COM port? Okay, finally. First off, rather than dumping you right into the action, Ducktales Remastered goes the modern route and starts you off with a tutorial stage.
Oh, not the Beagle Boys again. If they think they can stand between Scrooge McDuck and his 3 cubic acres of cash, they've got another thing coming.
It's a nice introduction to the game if you've never played the original, and if you have, it's cool to see the design of the money bin stage. But it seems to lack some of the quality level design you'll see in the other stages. On the plus side, it shows that all the old rules still apply. Pogoing feels natural, you gain money by jumping randomly in the most obscure places. Huey, Dewey, and Louie are captured for the first 3 times over the course of the game, and you get to hear all of their voices.
Yeah, but you better watch out! The Beagle Boys messed with your security system!
Also, all of the Beagle Boys are back.
Yeah, we've taken over the whole place.
Not even for the afternoon snack. Big time in trouble, mate.
Not so fast, McDuck. We're running things around here now.
The whole thing is capped off with a brand new boss fight, and it is awesome.
Step away from me, Fortune, you crook.
Not this time, McDuck. Oh, you ain't getting the drop on this Beagle boy. That cane ain't gonna hurt me that way.
Blast! Oh dear. Do be careful or you'll scump the floor.
After you stomp the Beagle Boys, you get a cutscene to introduce the plot of the game. A treasure map in a painting in Scrooge's own money bin. Who'd have thunk it?
Well, pluck me pin feathers.
There's a familiar menu screen, with a bit of a moonish tilt to the music. Seems to be a running theme in this. We'll start with the Amazon because, why not? It's the first stage in the menu, and it's usually how I start in the NES version. This stage is extremely well done. The enemies feel just right. It's colorful, and it's a strong start. But one thing aggravated me. It didn't bother me so much going through the footage on review, but when I was playing it, I wanted to strangle someone. You have to collect 8 coins to proceed into the second half of the level, and every single time the game stops the action to take you into a cutscene. They're well-made cutscenes, and they're very well acted, but I want to play Ducktales, not watch a movie. This isn't extra information, this isn't extra features, this is stopping the game from proceeding. Well, whatever. It's a minor gripe. Eventually you get all 8 stones, about 10 minutes later than it needed to be, and you get to the second part of the level. No. Just stay up there, Scrooge. Inside of the temple is breathtaking. Even this shortcut is still there, but now Mrs. Beakley's waiting for you instead of the end boss. You still have to pass through this room. And wait a minute. He's not charging me money. Can I get an achievement for this? Kick ass! Well, it was fun, but here we are at the end of the... Where's the end of the level? This is where the boss is supposed to be. Well, kudos I guess on adding more level. Actually, forget the kudos. This is hard. They were not screwing around with this. Finally, here we go. The easiest boss in the original game. It is not so easy now. Here we go, 5 hits. And he's still going. How much harder did they make this? Finally he goes down. And it's the African mines. Not a whole lot to say here. The stage has definitely got my favorite remix soundtrack. Funky. They were really serious about removing the cheap shortcuts from the original game. If you come all the way out here, you don't get any special legendary treasure anymore. Definitely no instant shortcut to the boss. And you have to come all the way back. Still worth it. Oh, there's also apparently a ton of extra life containers floating around that were not in the original game. Now this is definitely my favorite reinterpretation of one of the boss battles from the original game. It's pretty awesome. Rolly ball guy beaten, moving on to the Himalayas.
I can hold up under your assault no longer, stranger.
The Himalayas definitely got a totally new treatment. This stage is probably the most changed from the original game. The boss is no longer in the part of the level you started. Instead, you have to collect a series of parts for the plane, at which point you fly off to the boss's location. Along the way, you have to explore the entire level, and down in the icy depths, you find crazy childhood nostalgia.
Godspeed, kilts. It's Bubba Duck.
Whoa, what happened? Scrooge? Ooga ooga! Scrooge saved Bubba!
Before you get to actually face the real boss, you get a newly minted mini-boss battle with Flint Heart Chronicles. You don't really stop to think about it, but that is a freaking unbelievable name. You get everything you need to know about the character without his ever opening his mouth. Later Disney shows must have fired the guy who was good at naming things. Megavolt, Colonel Spigot, Fat Cat, Lazy. For a name like Flint Heart Glomgold. Doesn't get any better than that. Just when you start to fear that that was it, and the abominable snowman boss might have fallen victim to redesign, he makes his appearance. This battle probably got the highest difficulty increase from the original game, but so cool.
Be nice, Uncle Scrooge. That poor fuzzy lady didn't mean any harm.
Next up is Transylvania. This was one of the first levels unveiled to the public, for good reason. The backgrounds and redesign are breathtaking. The Beagle Boys make another appearance, this time kidnapping the boys. Before Scrooge can proceed to the boss battle with Magica Dispel, he has to rescue all three of them, which is a pretty good incentive to explore the entirety of the stage instead of just blowing through it. It's a pretty solid level, and Magica's revamped boss battle is very impressive. Oh, and this level contains the single greatest nod to the original game in the entire remake.
Well, that bungle boy did say this house has an illusion wall.
At last, we come to the moon, which I always save for last. Because it's the frickin' moon! That is epic! And Way Forward must know how much we think of it, because its treatment is equally epic. First off, they explain how and why Uncle Scrooge can breathe on the surface of the moon without a suit. So it looks like you finally get an answer, Brentalfloss. Gizmo Duck was in the original game, but he was such a poorly made afterthought. He wasn't even the right freaking color. But here we have not only Gizmo Duck, but my personal favorite character, Fenton Crackshell. I'm not sure why I'm so enamored with the idea of a socially awkward bumbler with good intentions becoming a hero through scientific superpowers. Must just be one of those things. Anyway, the music is perfectly redone, the aliens got a nice revamp, and the single hardest jump in the entire original game has been replaced. Oh, come on! Seriously? The hidden treasure, key, and remote control have been replaced with parts to Gizmo Duck's suit. Which is great, it makes more sense. What kind of UFO would use an actual physical key anyway? After you have Gizmo Duck assembled, just like in the original game, you proceed into the lunar core. No, not like that. Like this. And it's awesome. It's significantly bigger than it was before, and check out this boss fight. Whoa, teleporting Death Mouse. Sweet. But wait! Even though all 5 stages are over, the game isn't finished yet. First, you lose all the treasures. It's a little better now that Magica steals them rather than them all just throwing themselves out of your pockets and into the ether. Then, you have to replay the Transylvania stage again without... Wait a minute. This isn't Transylvania. This is another new stage! And this stage is brutal. Mount Vesuvius. Sure, it's linear to a fault, but it's well designed, super challenging, and you get to team up with Glombo. Oh, thank God! For a second there I thought there wasn't going to be a silhouette section, and that would have been a tragedy. At the end of the road is Magica Dispel. For the first time, the fight with Dracula Duck is explained, and it is sweet. When it ends, one final task remains. You might remember it like this. And to be fair, that's pretty stupid. But now it looks like this. Hahaha! Tougher than the toughies and smarter than the smarties. But did this really need to have a Metroid-style escape sequence afterwards? I mean, can you imagine how much of an ass you'd feel like if you died here and had to redo the whole stage? Well, now that I've spoiled the entire game for you, I won't spoil the ending. You're going to have to play the game, or watch another YouTube video, to find out. So, what's the verdict? By now you've read the reviews, seen the mixed feelings people have towards the game. You might be wondering what I think, or why I'd make a video like this. The short answer is, who cares? It's still fun. The original and the remastered version, for different reasons. Do I think it's worth your $15? You bet your ass I do. And you and I both know you already know if you're going to play it. If not, I hope you at least enjoyed the video. Even though I won't spoil the ending, I will spoil part of the end credits. Because finally, after more than 20 years, it has become the ending credits scene. Congratulations, Brennel Floss. You've earned this.